Today's video is sponsored by Parade. More on that later. Did you know high heel shoes were actually made for men? High-heeled shoes were first worn by Persian soldiers to help keep their feet in their stirrups while they were riding. The heels provided stability, allowing the cavalry to remain securely on their horses during battle. But beyond their practicality, these shoes started to symbolize something much more: wealth and power. By the 17th century, 1-inch heels became the norm for Persian riders when they're on their horses or off their horses. This is reflected in the arts from that period, where we see Persian nobility adorned in rich robes, silk pants, and of course, high heels. By the late 17th century, Persia mania, that's what they called it. Hope I'm saying it right. Girl, I don't know. Queen of pronunciation, period. And aristocrats began adopting the high-heeled shoe as a symbol of fertility and military prowess. High heels, tight stockings, and loose breeches were all designed to emphasize a man's legs, showing off their calves and thighs with pride. High heels were not just about walking, they're about flaunting. Men posed in ways that showed off their shapely legs and their high heels in every portrait that they could get a chance to do so. High heels were really the ish for men back in the day. The most famous wearer of heels in history was probably Louis XIV, the Sun King, as they called him. Under his rule, the higher and the more redder the heel was, it meant that the person wearing them was more powerful. In 1670, he even passed an edict, which is a law or rule given by an authority, stating that only nobility could wear heels, with red heels being reserved for those in his favor. So naturally, the red heel became a symbol of ultimate power, indicating that its wearer was not only wealthy enough to avoid dirtying his shoes, but also powerful enough to crush his enemies underfoot. And I wonder if this is where the Christian Louis Vuitton shoe came from, because you know those red bottom heels that are like what, $1,000 or something, like very expensive, and they have an exclusive touch to them because we obviously can't afford $1,000 shoes. Maybe you can, but I'm not gonna do that. She got them red bottom heels, boots with the fur. But as the 18th century progressed, heels became increasingly gendered. Women's shoes became more narrow, more ornamental, and higher, while men's shoes grew broader and sturdier. By 1730, men had largely abandoned heels altogether because they were seen as too feminine. So now we fast forward to today, and what do we have? Well, heels are basically made for women only, and let's be honest, they are hella impractical. There is no way with the heels that are on today's market that we can be riding horses with them. No way. In fact, I actually hate wearing heels with a passion. Like, whoever invented heels, I'ma catch you outside. How about that? Because these shoes are hella uncomfortable. Even for my birthday this year, I tried to get the most comfortable shoes. They're literally this high and they were thick, but my issue was that the front was so uncomfortable. It was like too tight. So honestly, I was in pain. Like, I was in severe pain.
I am in severe pain.
How did something that was originally meant for men and was meant to be practical and to help you turn into something that's meant for women? And that's actually quite painful. This got me thinking, like, are we getting scammed? Are we getting tricked to dress for men? I had this conversation with my friend the other day, and we were just talking about whether we dress for ourselves or dress for men. She was like, so do we wear corsets, push-up bras, high heels, like all those type of stuff? Do we wear them for ourselves because they're quite uncomfortable if we're honest? Or do we just suck up the pain and wear it for men because we want their attention or we want to be accepted by them? At first, my answer was hell no. Like, what? I dress for myself, period. Like, F men, like, you know what I mean? So I was like, no. But you know when you just start thinking about something more and like time passes and you're like, damn, am I sure? Am I not sure? Like, I don't know. And then I just started questioning myself. Maybe I need to make this video so you guys can help me with this answer. Do women dress for men? Do we want to be accepted by them? Do we want to be desired by them? Do we want their attention? Because as much as push-up bras make your girls look good, after an hour of wear, I am tired. Like, I am ready to take it off. I'm more of a bralette, sports bra type of girl, and the most comfortable ones I've actually tried are from Parade. Parade is an underwear brand known for its vibrant and inclusive approach to lingerie. They offer a wide range of underwear, bralettes, and loungewear in a variety of different sizes, styles, and colors. But the best part? Parade is actually affordable and their quality is unmatched. I got a couple bralettes from them, so I'm gonna show you what I'm saying so you guys can actually understand what I'm trying to say. And just an FYI, I got everything in a size small, so if you are a similar size to me, you know to get a size small, period. So first up is the Lush Sculpt Plunge Long Line Bralette. Now this one holds my girls together. and it makes everything fit on point without being too tight, if that makes sense. I'm a very active person, so I'm always on the go, and when I'm on the go, I need something that's comfortable but not too restrictive where I feel like it's digging into my ribs. So this one has definitely been a game changer. Like, it's very comfortable to the point where I'm not counting down the hours until I have to take it off. So next up is the Peekaboo Scoop Layered Bralette. And I won't even lie, I originally got this one because I just thought it was so cute. I liked the color scheme and I liked how it was layered. It was just giving cute. So I was like, ooh, let me get this one. But it actually ended up being a really good bralette because the fit and the support on this bralette actually makes sense and it's very, very good. I worked out in it the other day and it was perfect. I felt cute, but also everything was together. Like, nothing was coming out. Even when I was on the treadmill running, everything just didn't hurt. I mean, I don't really have big girls in the first place, but it's still like whenever I'm running on the treadmill, if I don't have a bra on that supports me properly, then it hurts. And you know how some sports bras and some bralettes have a tight band here? It kind of digs into your ribs. It's not a wire, but it's still not comfortable. This one does not have it at all. It fits perfectly and it still doesn't have that tightness to it. Do you know what I mean? Yes, you do. But don't just take my word for it. Actually try out Parade for yourself. Their items are high quality yet budget friendly, so everything just makes sense. Plus, if you use the code WORLD50, you get 50% off the entire site. And this is a limited time deal, so make sure you check them out. Thank you to Parade for sponsoring this portion of today's video, and now let's get into the actual video. Yeah. Part 1. What is the male gaze? The male gaze has been a quite popular term on the internet for a while, so you may have already heard about it, but I want to go over it briefly in case you may need a refresher or you're not too familiar with this term. I do have a full video about the male gaze and female gaze that explains it more in depth, so feel free to check that out to get a better explanation. But first, let's get into this quick little lesson on what we mean when we say the male gaze. So let's get into it. Yeah. There are countless videos on TikTok that explore the difference between dressing for the male gaze versus dressing for the female gaze. In many of these videos, outfits that are geared towards the male gaze tend to be plain and just focused on highlighting the body with tight, form-fitting clothing. On the other hand, outfits representing the female gaze are often thoughtfully styled and creatively put together. It really highlights the contrast between simply wearing clothes versus intentionally styling them. So if any of you guys are fashion people, please give me some tips on how to style clothes, because that's something that I'm trying to work on, because I just be wearing it, you know what I mean? Give me some tips, period. Thank you very much. But the male gaze is so much more than just these TikTok videos, but it is a good starting point to start understanding the difference between the male gaze versus female gaze. So the male gaze is a concept that's rooted in feminist theory that delves into the power dynamics embedded within visual arts, literature, and the media, where women are often depicted from a masculine heterosexual perspective. So what the hell does that mean? Well, honestly, just think of most of Margot Robbie's movie roles, especially in Suicide Squad, Bombshell, and there's another one, Wolf of Wall Street. Like, not all her movie roles are like that, but most of her roles, because she is an attractive young lady, tend to put her in the male gaze. So this term male gaze was actually coined by British film theorist Laura Mulvey in her groundbreaking 1975 essay titled Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema. So the male gaze describes a scenario where men are positioned as the active observers and women are seen as the passive subjects of observation. This gaze shapes how women are portrayed across various media, often reducing them to objects of male desire and pleasure, rather than portraying them as fully realized individuals with their own agency, desires, and complexities. At its core, the male gaze is about power and control. It reflects a patriarchal viewpoint that prioritizes the male experience and pleasure, reinforcing traditional gender roles and expectations. But this perspective is not only present in movies, it's also present in advertisements, video games, art, literature, all that. But definitely in video games though, because I remember when I was younger, like, I didn't play video games that often, but whenever I would go to my cousin's house, I would play their video games with them. And the female characters were always over-sexualized. They were always big boobies, a little tiny waist, and big hips, always hyper-sexualized female characters. And when I was younger, I never clocked it because I was younger, obviously, so I'm just playing the game, doing whatever. But when I think about it, I'm like, damn, all the female characters were just doing too much. And the male characters, they had more more range to them. Even if you think of popular movie characters like Catwoman, Wonder Woman, and Black Widow from Marvel, they were all hot because all of their costumes were designed to show off their curves. They looked good, you know what I mean? So their costumes definitely did satisfy the male gaze. And while it's satisfying the male gaze, it's also conditioning us to view this as the norm. Women under the male gaze are depicted in ways that emphasize their physical appearance and sexual attractiveness according to male standards. This can include specific camera angles that linger on female body parts, such as your Tia Tamaras, your legs, your booty, I don't know, your arms, anything like that. And when talking about this, Megan Fox automatically comes to my head because you guys remember Transformers, the one that was released in I think 2007? She was in that movie and there's a scene where she's trying to fix a car and the camera lingers on her stomach. That's probably one of the best examples of what I'm trying to say. They thought they were slick, but we clocked it. Period. The implications of the male gaze are profound. It doesn't just objectify women. It also reinforces and perpetuates societal norms that suggest a woman's value is largely tied to her ability to be attractive to men. This objectification can lead to a narrow portrayal of femininity, where women are often showed in stereotypical roles that lack depth or agency, such as the seductress, the damsel in distress, or the supportive girlfriend or wife. These portrayals can shape audience perceptions, influencing how men and women see women's roles in society. A lot of people see women in this light, and not only in movies but also real life, because when we see it everywhere in ads, video games, or in movies, it subconsciously becomes a thing where we just think is the norm. We have to do a lot of work on ourselves to unlearn this type of thinking, but at the same time, it's so embedded into how we think, so you might not even realize that's how you view women. But you do. Moreover, the male gaze extends beyond visual representation. It shapes how stories are told. Narratives are often constructed in ways that cater to male fantasies, with female characters serving as plot devices to further the male protagonist's journey, rather than as fully developed characters with their own motivations and stories. This does limit the diversity and complexity of female representation in the media, leading to a cycle where women's real-life experiences and identities are overshadowed by these narrow portrayals. Take the James Bond movies for example. The Bond girls are usually there to serve as romantic or sexual interests for Bond, often lacking depth and existing primarily to support his storyline. Their primary function is to enhance the male protagonist's journey rather than being fully fleshed out characters with their own arcs, motivations, and complexities. In contrast though, when female characters are written and presented through a female gaze or a more gender-neutral perspective, they are given more agency and depth. They have their own stories, ambitions, and conflicts that aren't solely tied to the male characters. The male gaze also has a significant impact on how women view themselves. Internalizing the male gaze can lead to what's known as self-objectification. And this is something that I actually love talking about because it's just a very interesting topic. And now that I'm getting older and growing older, I'm like, it just makes more sense now. Back in my day, I was like, girl, I'm gonna wear this because I want to. But then I look back and I'm like, did I wear it because I wanted to wear that thing? Or did I wear it because I've been conditioned to think that this is what I want to wear because it's what men like? You get what I'm trying to say? When women internalize the male gaze, they see themselves through a lens of male desire. This can affect their self-esteem, body image, and overall sense of worth, as they may feel pressure to conform to the idealized images of femininity that are constantly being presented to them, such as having an hourglass figure because apparently it makes you look healthy and more fertile. But is looking fertile a compliment? Because once this man said I looked fertile, and I'm like, is that an insult? Is that a threat? Should I run away? Or is that supposed to be considered a compliment? To me, it's not. At this age, it's not. Don't tell me I look fertile. I don't want to hear it because that sounds like a threat. Why would you say that to me? Why would you say that? But let me know how you feel about being called fertile if you have ever been. In response to the male gaze, feminist artists, filmmakers, and theorists have worked to challenge and subvert this perspective by creating works that offer alternate viewpoints, which some may call the female gaze or oppositional gaze. These works aim to portray women as active subjects with agency, exploring their inner lives, complexities, and diverse experiences outside the confines of traditional male-centered narratives. A great example of this is the movie Lady Bird. This film presents a deeply personal coming-of-age story from the perspective of a young woman, Christine Lady Bird McPherson, exploring her relationships, aspirations, and struggles. Unlike many male-centered narratives, Lady Bird focuses on the protagonist's inner world and her complex, sometimes messy journey journey towards self-discovery. The film subverts the male gaze by centering on Lady Bird's perspective and experiences, allowing her to be a fully realized character rather than a plot device for a male character's story. The film's focus on female friendships, mother and daughter dynamics, and the protagonist's agency in defining her own identity exemplifies the female gaze in storytelling. So if you have never watched the movie, I highly suggest it. It's a great watch, and it's a good movie that does challenge the male gaze. Overall, the male gaze is a powerful concept that sheds light on the deeply rooted gender inequalities in our culture. By understanding how the male gaze actually operates, we can begin to critically examine the media we consume, question the narratives we're told, and advocate for more inclusive and representative portrayals of all genders in the arts and beyond. So now that you're a scholar in the male gaze, you know everything about it, period, we can now start to talk about women's fashion and to see if we do dress for the male gaze. Do we dress for the male gaze? I don't know, but let's keep this conversation going. Part 2. Women's fashion throughout the years. Let's take a step back in time. For centuries, fashion has been a powerful tool of self-expression for women. But even in this corner of autonomy, women have often been dressing through the lens of the male gaze. Whether it was the restrictive corsets of the Victorian era or the sensual flapper dresses of the 1920s, women's wardrobes were designed with male ideals in mind. If you think about it, men hold a lot of leadership roles in the fashion industry, and some of the top designers are men. Of course, there are women fashion designers too, but a lot of the big ones, they are men. We have Ralph Lauren, Christian Dior, Marc Jacobs. There's so much, I can't even think of them right now, but there is a lot. So let's talk about how this influence has shaped what we wear for centuries and even to this day. Period. Let's get into it. I remember I went to Miami last year for my sister's birthday. I'm out here in Miami looking for the... If you know anything about Miami, or if you have heard about Miami, you know that their nightlife is quite lit. They're very vibrant. There's a lot going on in the city, especially around March break, or spring break, I should say. So naturally, since we were there, we're like, we might as well check out one of their clubs, see what's popping, because it's nighttime. Let's see what Miami got, you know what I mean? Because we always heard so much good things about it. So we're like, let's see it for ourselves. So we get to the club and the line's quite long, which is annoying, but it's fine because it starts moving fast. So when we're in the line, everything's Gucci, it's chill. So we get to the front and security does the usual. They check our ID and they check our bags. I had brought sandals in my bag because I was wearing heels and I was like, I know I can't stand in heels for a long time. I really cannot. I hate heels with a passion, as I mentioned earlier. So that's why I brought sandals, because I didn't want to sit down the whole time. I actually wanted to go have fun, dance, just live my life in Miami because I'm out here in Miami. So that was the plan. But when the security guard saw my sandals, he's like, nah, you can't come in with the sandals. So I was like, yo, it's just for my feet because my feet are gonna hurt. Let me in. And he was like, nah, you can't come in with sandals at all. So then I was like, so do you want a club full of women sitting down or dancing? Because everyone's sitting down, it's not really good promo for you people. So let me in with these sandals. But he tells me, he's like, nah, every woman in the club has to wear heels. If you're not wearing heels, you're not getting in. And I'm like, brother, the heels are on my feet, so let me in. But he was not budging. He was like, no, like, you can't even bring sandals. It has to be strictly heels on your feet, and that's it, just heels. So at this point, I'm frustrated and I'm ready to fight, but I'm just annoyed too because we Ubered to the club. So it's not like we drove here so I can put my shoes in a car or anything like that. No, these shoes have to come with me because there's nowhere else to put it. I had to do what I had to do. I had to get creative. There was a bush nearby, so I put the sandals under the bush. I hid it underneath. I put some dirt on it to hide it, and I left the sandals there. Girl, my mind was racing because the shoes are not even my shoes and they're expensive. They were my mom's shoes, and I was like, bro, if someone steals these shoes, I'm deceased. After dashing my shoes in the bush, I was able to get into the club with no problem, but the security guard was still pissing me off though, because he started acting all nice. He's like, oh, sweetheart, don't try to act all nice to me after you just made me dash my shoe away. If someone steals that, you're compensating me. Obviously, I did not say that because he's a big guy, so I was not about to beef with him, but I said it in my head. Anyways, fast forward to the end of the night. It was actually fun. I had a lot of fun, and definitely Miami did live up to its hype, so I'll give it that for sure. And surprisingly, the shoes were still there. I genuinely believed that someone would take it because it was such a busy street. It was so busy, but somehow no one saw the shoes. I guess I was good at hiding it. That's how you know you're blessed. I wanted to kick off this section with this story because I feel like it perfectly leads into discussing how fashion, especially for women, often prioritizes a certain look, which is usually dictated by male-centric standards. Whether it's high heels, push-up bra, tight dresses, restrictive corsets, corsets, there's this ongoing expectation for women to sacrifice comfort for style. And it's worth questioning why and where this came from. This also makes me think of the saying, beauty is pain. Why do we have to be in pain to look beautiful? Can y'all make the process more cute? But they used to always tell me this when I was younger, especially when I was getting my hair braided. Because you're younger, you have like more of a tender scalp. And these aunties, they'd be like pinching your hair. They'd be like, their grip is insane. So when I was younger, I hated getting my hair done. It was just not cute. But the result was always cute though, but the process was not. But now that I'm older, I actually do like getting my hair braided. So speaking of that, I need to get my hair done soon because it's looking a little bit crazy. To understand where this idea that women dress for men's attention came from, we have to take it back in time. For centuries, women's fashion was heavily influenced by what men found attractive. Corsets, for instance, were worn to create an hourglass figure, a shape that was idealized by men in the Victorian era. The corset has been a staple in women's fashion for centuries, undergoing significant transformation in both form and function. Originally designed to sculpt the body into an idealized silhouette, corsets often prioritize aesthetics over comfort. However, in modern times, the corset has evolved into a fashion statement, though it still retains the ability to shape the body. The corset's history is long and complex, dating back to ancient civilization. I'm talking way back, girl. This shit's not new. The term corset is short for corset girdle, and it's a tight-laced, boned garment designed to slim the waist and enhance the female figure. While the most recognized corsets emerged in the 16th century, the concept dates back much further. It was not only Kim K who can squeeze into a tiny corset. Them girlies back in the day, they had no waist. What waist? The Minoans were an ancient Greek civilization that inhabited Crete around 1000 BC, and they are believed to be the first people to wear corset-like garments. Evidence of corsets can be found in Minoan artwork and figurines, such as the famous Minoan snake goddess, who is depicted wearing a corset. These early corsets were made of linen and wool, likely for ceremonial purposes rather than everyday wear how it is now. During the Middle Ages, aka the medieval era, the concepts of corsets faded as bodies were often viewed as sinful, and women's fashion emphasized modesty and comfort. Women wore fully covered dresses from head to toe, prioritizing practicality over the shape of their bodies. The emphasis was on modesty and concealment of the female form rather than showing it off. It wasn't until the 16th century where the corset made a significant comeback, particularly in Europe. The modern concept of the corset is believed to have originated in Italy and to have been introduced to France by Catherine Medici in the 1500s. The French court quickly adopted the corset, which became essential to the female figure's attractiveness at the time. And low-key, still this time as well, because all these things that originated back in the past, they still hold a lot of influence right now. These early corsets were tight, tight, they were tighter than Patrick's jeans in that one SpongeBob episode. They were tight, and they had elongated bodices worn beneath the clothing, designed to shape the waist and flatten the bust. By the mid-16th century, corsets had become a common garment for women in Europe and Great Britain. They featured a busk, which is a long, flat piece of whalebone or wood inserted into the corset to maintain its rigid form. These corsets had a V-shaped structure on the abdomen covering the front of the corset, and it was called the stomacher, and it was added for ornamental purposes. Ruffles were later added to the bottom edge of the stomacher, leading to the creation of fartingale. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I'll show you a picture to show you what I mean. I didn't know this was possible, but somehow the corsets became even more restrictive in the 18th century. These corsets were made from hard material, such as whalebone, cane, or hemp, and they were designed to make the waist appear smaller compared to the hips. Known as stays, these corsets compressed the stomach and forced the floating rib down. They were doing a lot during this time, leave your ribs alone. Let them breathe. The thought of having all my organs squished together and forcing my ribs down does not sit well with my spirit. So I don't know how them people were doing it back in the day. These stronger and more rigid materials allowed for even tighter lacing, pushing the human body to do things that it really should not be doing. While corsets were intended to support your boobies and your back muscles, the practice of tight lacing, where the goal was to achieve an impossibly small waist, Kim Kardashian, had very severe consequences. Women suffered from reduced lung capacity, fainting spells, and even permanent organ deformities. Imagine being unable to eat, breathe, or move comfortably, all for the sake of fashion. Or should we say the male gaze? But despite the dangers of the corset, they still remained in vogue. Even pregnant women were not spared. They had maternity corsets. Like, if you don't let your baby breathe, like, please, like, girl, chill. Maternity corsets were actually introduced in the 1830s, and these garments were designed with extra room. They still pose serious risks to both the mother and the child. Girl, y'all need to let your babies breathe. When you're pregnant, you're not supposed to have a snatched waist. That's how it is. But to me, the corset is much more than just a piece of clothing. It's a symbol of the lens to which society has gone to shape, quite literally, the female body. And as we look back at history and even to this present day right now, it's important to ask ourselves, how far are we willing to go? Really, like, how far are we actually willing to go? And also at what cost? Let's be real. We all know that the hourglass figure is highly desirable. You know, a small waist, big hips, that has been the goal for ages, which is why so many people have gone under the knife to achieve it. I've even heard stories about women removing their ribs to achieve an even smaller waist. You can't make this ish up. Yeah, her name is Pixie Fox, actually, and she's a Swedish model and social media personality. She's known for her extreme body modifications, particularly her pursuit of achieving an exaggerated hourglass figure. She gained widespread attention for undergoing multiple plastic surgeries, including the removal of 6 ribs to achieve a smaller waist. Not 1, not 2, but 6 of her ribs to achieve an even smaller waist. And she's also done other surgeries too, such as a boob job, liposuction, and facial surgeries as well. And it's important to mention that she has also cited characters like Jessica Rabbit as inspiration for her new look. I honestly don't know why doctors agreed to perform these type of surgeries in the first place. Like, should there not be a cap to what you're doing to your body? But I guess, you know, it's a free country, it's a free world, so here we are. Also, going back to the cartoon character Jessica Rabbit, when you think about it, and this is similar to what I said about the video games and like those figures like Catwoman, Wonder Woman, all them type of people, a lot of these cartoon characters did have this hourglass figure. Like, when you think about it, we had Lola Bunny, Tinkerbell, Betty Boop, Megara from Hercules, and also Miss Sarah Bellum from Powerpuff Girls, and Elastigirl from The Incredibles. Like, all of these movies were for kids, and we kept seeing a bunch of female characters that all had this hourglass figure and just exaggerated features. I know cartoon characters are not real, and that's why they can have these exaggerated features, but it's very interesting that the exaggerated feature that Disney or all these companies decided to go on was the slim waist and big hip exaggeration. Like, there's multiple exaggerations out there, but they chose that for female characters because that is the ideal. And let's be honest, isn't Disney run by a man? I'm pretty positive. I know it was founded by a man, so I think it just says a lot. So is it fair to say that we've been conditioned to want this hourglass figure? Because as I said, these movies are for kids. Yeah, adults can watch it too, but the target audience is for kids. And we all know how impressionable kids are, right? So if they keep seeing female characters in this light, is it fair to say that it's low-key brainwashing or just conditioning them to view women this way? So are we teaching young girls to strive for the hourglass figure and teaching young boys to go for women who have the hourglass figure? It's just some food for thought to think about. In fact, an interesting study was conducted and published in the journal Evolution and Human Behavior, and they suggest that men are naturally drawn to women with a low waist to hip ratio, which is WHR. And this is what we commonly refer to as the hourglass figure. So this study argues that men are instinctively inclined to prefer this body type because it signals youth, which is questionable, fertility, and a woman's reproductive potential. Researchers explain that an hourglass figure indicates that a woman is likely young, has never been pregnant, and possesses key reproductive resources. Whatever the fuck that means. To arrive at these findings, these researchers analyzed over 12,000 participants in 2 national health and nutrition examination surveys. So they discovered that a low waist to hip ratio is also strongly associated with higher levels of omega-3, don't know how to say this word, acid. It's known as DHA, and this is a vital nutrient during pregnancy and breastfeeding. So there we have it. Having an hourglass figure is linked to being young and fertile. So that's what men prefer, clearly. I mean, I already knew men loved younger women. That's nothing new. We talked about it, but not in depth. So low-key, I might do a video on that. Even before reading the study, I already had an idea that having an hourglass figure is linked to fertility and also being young. And because this is what most men prefer, this beauty standard has been shoved down our faces, literally pushed down our faces even when we're young, because as I said, all those cartoon characters, they had that shape. And because the hourglass figure is so highly sought after, women wear shapewear, they wear corsets to help. And this is no shade to anyone who wears them, because I wear shapewear from time to time because sometimes it just makes the look come together. Like, shapewear is definitely more comfortable than corsets. It's still definitely a little bit restrictive, especially if you're going out to eat, you know, you're eating all that food, that once I start bloating, I'm just like, damn, I need to take this corset off. It's a love-hate relationship, but I do like shapewear from time to time. But despite the discomfort with corsets, people still opt to wear them. Even Kim Kardashian, she wore a corset to the 2019 Met Gala, and she even admitted that it was hella painful. She also wore a corset to the recent Met Gala, which definitely caused a lot of controversy, but the one in 2019, it was actually a Mugler concert. Girl, how do you say all these designer names? Mugler, I think. But in 2019, Kim Kardashian wore the Mugler corset to the Met Gala. Before she even put the corset on, she had to undergo special breathing lessons from Mr. Pearl, who is the designer who created the corset. Like, she took it seriously. Like, she was not playing no games. This is why I say rich people don't know what to do with their money. I'm assuming she paid for these breathing lessons. But how are you gonna pay for breathing lessons just to wear a corset for one night? Definitely a reminder that sometimes the pursuit of beauty can border on the extreme. It makes you wonder where the line is between fashion and discomfort, or even pain. So can we say that women still wear corsets even though they're painful for the male gaze because it's what men prefer? We're gonna answer that, don't you worry. I wanted to bring up push-up bras first just because I have a love-hate relationship with this product. But not only push-up bras, just like the underwire bras in general. That wire be digging into your ribs like, damn, let me breathe, girl. If you wear underwire bras, you're definitely gonna relate to what I'm about to say. The best feeling in the world is to come home after a long day of being out with your bra on, is to come home and just take it off and let everything breathe. That's probably the best feeling ever. And that's why I hate underwire bras, because after a couple hours, I'm just ready to take it off. But you know, if you're at work, you're doing something, you're at an event, you can't do that. And once the bra comes off, it is not going back on until the next day, girl. So if you try to call my phone or nothing, I'm not leaving my house, because once it's off, period. But I do have small Tia Tamaras, and if you don't know what Tia Tamaras are, listen to Doja Cat's song Tia Tamara so you know what I'm saying. But anyways, I do have small Tia Tamaras, and I'm not too mad about it because, you know, I got no back pain and I can go without a bra sometimes. So like, I'm not too mad about it, but definitely sometimes I'm wearing an outfit and I just feel like I need more like cleavage to fill up the outfit. So then I'm like, damn, like, these Tia Tamaras are not doing what they need to do. That's when I unfortunately turned to the push-up bras. When I first put them on, they're not too bad, but after like maybe 2-3 hours, I need it to come off because it is not comfortable. So I only wear it whenever I actually have to wear it. But the underwire ones really do give you that push and make everything look bigger and better. And according to these beauty standards, the bigger your girls are, the better it is. Well, I feel like to a certain extent. I feel like there's definitely a range to it, but yeah, we've always heard that phrase, the bigger the better. So we've been conditioned to think that, okay, bigger boobs are better. I even remember Nicki Minaj, she posted this not too long ago. She posted a throwback of herself, and she said in her caption, she wore 2 bras to make her boobs look bigger. It affects everyone. We've been told that, oh, if you have small boobs, then you're masculine, you're not feminine enough, you're not cute enough. It's a real thing. And that definitely explains too why sometimes I feel pressured into wearing push-up bras, because I feel like my Tia Tamaras are not filling in the outfit the way it should, or it looks like too flat. You know what I mean? Because these people love to call you flat-chested. Like, people just are not nice. I've also seen many studies where they said that men do prefer women with larger cup sizes. So do you really think it's a coincidence that push-up bras exist? Plus, a man is actually the one who invented the padded bra. His name was Frederick Mellinger, I believe. It's just very interesting to see that a man is the one who invented bras, like the padded bra that gives you more support and more like oomph to make your Tia Tamaras look bigger. Like, is it a coincidence? Like, why is men in our business? That's my question. And even Victoria's Secret too was founded by a man. Roy Raymond and his wife Gay, they founded Victoria's Secret actually. And it was created because Roy felt embarrassed when he was shopping for lingerie for his wife for some reason. So they created Victoria's Secret so that men could feel comfortable shopping for lingerie for their wives or girlfriends. And that's just so interesting to me, because why are y'all creating a lingerie store for women, but men are the priority? Their comfort is the most important thing. Like, that's literally the reasoning behind starting the business. Like, do you kind of realize how weird that is? I just find it very interesting that it's meant for women, but also meant for men to feel comfortable. Like, girl, like you were comfortable taking that bra off, so I don't know why you so nervous to go shop for a new one. And I've been to a couple of Victoria's Secret stores just to do some window shopping, but I don't understand how they try to make it more comfortable for men. There are a lot of pictures of very beautiful, attractive models with big Tia Tamaras, so maybe that's how they make the men feel more comfortable, but I don't really understand. But we do live in a patriarchal society, so a lot of things, dare I say everything, is meant for men. It's set up to favor men. That's the tea. So another question for y'all. Do women wear push-up bras or underwire bras in general for the male gaze? Honestly, the standards that are set for women have been set with keeping men at the forefront. So let's actually talk about whether if women dress for the male gaze or not. Part 3. Do women really dress for male attention? Is there truth to the idea that women's fashion choices are often influenced by the desire to attract or appeal to men? Or is this a stereotype that oversimplifies a much more nuanced reality? In this segment, we'll dive deep into the various factors that influence how women choose to dress, whether it's for self-expression, confidence, societal expectations, or yes, even the male attention. Let's explore whether this notion holds up under scrutiny or if there's more to the story than meets the eye. This discussion would not be complete if we did not touch on feminism. The feminist movement has long advocated for women's right to choose how they present themselves, free from judgment or the pressure to conform to male expectations. But this raises an interesting question. Can women truly dress freely in a society that is still influenced by patriarchal norms? Or are their choices, always to some extent, shaped by the desire to be perceived a certain way? Can we escape this madness? When I say that I wear a push-up bra, am I doing it for myself or am I doing it because I've been conditioned to believe that bigger boobs are better? Feminism argues that women should be able to dress however they want, whether it's wearing a tight dress or a baggy hoodie, and they should be able to do this without being reduced to just their appearance. Yet the reality is complex. Even in a world where women have more freedom than ever before, societal pressure still exists, but there is still this lingering question of if a woman wants to truly wear these clothing pieces that are hella uncomfortable for themselves, or do they wear it because it's desirable to have an hourglass figure, bigger boobs, or to wear heels? Before we get into what I want to say, let's get into what you had to say. As always, over on Instagram, I asked you guys some questions about this topic to get your insights, and y'all answered it. Y'all were divided, but y'all answered it, so let's get into it. First question is, what do you believe is the primary reason why women choose their outfits? 48% said to express their personality and style, 30% said feel confident and empowered, 3% said to attract attention, including from men, and 19% said to fit in with cultural or social expectations. From the results of this poll, it seems like a lot of you believe that women dress for themselves and just to express themselves through fashion. And I will say I do resonate with that answer. However, when I go out to like certain places, I do feel the need to dress in a way that doesn't always resonate how I feel. Like, let's say I'm going to a restaurant, a lounge, a club, or whatever. They usually have strict dress codes, so you have to dress in a certain way to be able to get inside the club or lounge or whatever in the first place. Just how I was forced to wear heels and I could not bring in sandals, I had to wear something that I'm not really comfortable with just to get into the event. Next question is, do you think societal expectations pressure women into dressing a certain way? 41% said yes. Societal norms heavily influence women. 31% said somewhat. Women have more freedom now. 4% said no. Women mostly dress for themselves. And 24% said depends on the context, work versus social setting. This question really highlights the ongoing tension between personal choice and societal expectation. A significant portion of you recognize the heavy influence that societal norms still have on women's fashion choices, which isn't surprising. Even though there's more freedom now, it doesn't erase the fact that certain pressures still exist. Whether it's in the professional environment or social settings, the context can definitely dictate how a woman feels she should dress. And while some believe that women mostly dress for themselves, it's clear from the results that societal expectations are still very much in the picture. Okay, so the third question, I really wanted y'all to think. I wanted y'all to use your brains for this one, so let's see what you have to say. How much do you think male attention influences women's fashion choices? 16% said a lot. It's a major factor. 30% said somewhat, not always. 8% said very very little, women dress for themselves. And I wish I put a comma because that would have made it make more sense. Since I didn't put the comma, it like sounds like this. Very little women dress for themselves. But I'm trying to say very little women do dress for themselves. You know what I'm trying to say? I should have put a comma there, but I hope y'all understood what I was trying to say. But the most popular answer was varies on the woman and the situation. And I have to say, I do agree with the last answer the most because it does depend. All of us are different. You know, we all have different reasonings for how we dress a certain way. Some may actually want to get that attention or they care about it more, and some may not care as much. So there's definitely a spectrum to it, and we all have our different reasons, of course. And as I said before, depending where you're going, you have to dress to fit the dress code. Yeah, sure, there are some places where they'll still let you in, but if you look crazy out of place, then people are just going to be staring at you, and it's going to be an uncomfortable situation for yourself anyway. So you want to dress to impress or just dress to fit in, to blend in. And especially with clubs too, these places, they want women to dress very provocative. They want them to show, show the skin, show them legs, show everything. That's what they want because it makes men happy. And when men are happy, they're going to stay in the club and spend more money because usually it's men who are buying the drinks and reserving the boots. It's like a whole cycle. And that's why I feel like that security guard was like, nope, no sandals, nothing. You have to wear heels because men do find heels attractive. So yeah, I suffered that night, but it was okay because you know what I did? I took off my shoes. I was like, you know what? F this security guard. I couldn't wear sandals, but I did go barefoot. Period. But anyways, those are all the questions that I had for you guys. Thank you so much for participating as usual. It's always very interesting to see what y'all have to say about these topics. So if you want to join the next conversation, make sure you head over to NK's World on Instagram to be a part of it. Period. You want to be there. Duh. Okay, but back to the controversial question. Do women actually dress for the male gaze? The answer is in black and white. I don't know if y'all wanted like a black and white answer, but if you watch this video to this point, you can tell that it's definitely not black and white. For some, male attention is definitely a factor, whether it's subconsciously or not. And for others, it's entirely irrelevant, especially if you're not attracted to men in the first place. That's also another point I wanted to mention. Some of us, we're not attracted to men, and that's cool. So conforming to this ideal of beauty set by men may not be your tea. But what's clear is that the reasons behind why women dress the way they do are deeply personal, varied, and they're shaped by a mix of historical, cultural, and individual factors. And if we're being honest, the patriarchy is deeply rooted into our society. It's something that affects us all, and it's not something that can easily be detected that we can be like, okay, that's patriarchy, let's dismantle it. It's so normalized to the point where you don't really clock it. You have to really think critically to clock it. I previously mentioned that growing up, I saw a lot of female characters that were designed to embody qualities that men found attractive, such as the iconic hourglass figure. You remember Pixie, who I talked about earlier, who said that Jessica Rabbit was her inspiration? Well, it's important to note that Jessica Rabbit is known for her exaggerated curves and alluring figure, and she was actually created by a man and is essentially a visual representation of what is often considered attractive from a male perspective. So when Pixie claims that her inspiration stems from a fictional character, it's worth considering that her transformation could also be driven by a desire to conform to an idealized beauty standard, one that is heavily influenced by what men find appealing. This raises questions about whether such extreme measures are taken not just to emulate a character, but to be seen as attractive by others, particularly men, and to fit into an ideal beauty that has been shaped largely by male preferences. I mean, I feel like it's fair to say. I also saw this really interesting comment that I feel like fits perfectly into this video, so I'm gonna read it. And it said, pressuring women to present themselves in a way pleasing to the male gaze, the Western way, is also oppressive of women. And this person was responding to someone else who said that forcing women to cover up their bodies is oppressive. Both perspectives can coexist because the reality is multifaceted and complex. However, it is important to recognize that the influence of the patriarchy is deep, often shaping our behaviors and choices in ways that we may not even be fully aware of. We do a lot of things without even thinking twice about it because it is so deeply ingrained into us and it's just seen as the norm. When we start to question whether we're wearing a dress for ourselves or for male approval, we enter a deeper discussion about the subtle ways societal expectations influence our decisions. It's not always black or white, and that's what makes this topic so nuanced. When I go out with my girls or I'm going on a first date, I'm definitely dressing to impress. I'm definitely dressing in a way that makes me look good, emphasizes how I look, and just makes me look like a baddie. Not a baddie, but like a bad bitch. You know what I mean? Period. But some may call it dressing for attention, and that could be true because I would say I'm dressing to fit in to what's expected of me, because if I'm going out, let's say it's like a party type lounge, I'm gonna dress in a party attire. I believe both can coexist, that, oh, you're dressing for male attention, but you're also dressing to fit in to what's expected of you. However, I will say though that I do prefer compliments from women over men, because women, it seems more genuine and sweet. It's nice. We're just like being like girls, you know what I mean? When it comes to men, like sometimes y'all just do too much. So it's like, ugh. And it's definitely a ego boost or a confidence boost to have like people say, oh my God, you look good today. Of course, who doesn't want to be desired by the sex that you are attracted to? So that's also something else to think about. So if I'm going somewhere fancy, or that's a special event where I know there's going to be a lot of people there, a lot of men there too, I'm gonna dress in a way that fits into what's expected of me, but also makes me feel good and like, okay, I'm looking good. Overall, beauty ideals have largely been shaped by men, and whether we realize it or not, we all adhere to them in some way, shape, or form. This is why some people believe that women dress for male attention, or when women look good, it's automatically for male attention. I remember a time at my old job when my coworker asked me, why are you wearing all that makeup? You're just going to work. I wanted to slap her, but I didn't. And another time too, I remember a customer actually complimented my hair, and my coworker went out of his way to say, oh, it's actually a wig. Like sometimes people really be testing my patience. I hate when people try to test my patience, especially at work. He really thought he ate. But now if I say something, they're gonna call me the angry black girl. So, you know, in the moment, it definitely did irk me, but like now I'm just like, whatever. You see how people be testing your girl NK? I was often criticized at work from my coworkers for trying to look good. Not everyone, and some of them would like joke about it, but you know there's always some truth behind jokes, right? So I definitely gave them a good side eye, but I was often criticized for, you know, wearing makeup, doing my hair, and just trying to look cute. But in the same breath, if I was not looking that cute, I definitely would be told that. I remember I wore my hair out a different way, and my coworker was like, oh, I like your hair better when it was in braids, or like something like that. And I was like, girl, well, my hair is not in braids, so what do you want me to do? So really, you can't win. You actually cannot win. So you know what my advice is? Dress for the most important gaze. Your own. Sure, there's going to be occasions where you have to dress for the male gaze, and sis, just do what you gotta do. But make it as comfortable as possible, because we do not have time to be struggling to breathe in a damn corset. But at the same time, it's crucial to think critically about our choices and ensure that we're comfortable with our decisions, that we're not just seeking approval or validation from others. Because the last thing you want to do is get validation from men. Like, they're annoying. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate you. I hope this discussion gave you some food for thought, or even challenge your own perspectives. I would love to read your comments and your thoughts, so make sure you leave them all down below in the comments down below. And I'm gonna see you very soon. Okay, period. Bye.